Welcome to Wrestler of the Week, Week 26. It pretty much works like this. If you are a professional wrestler and you left the most impact over the past 7 days, you will be named Wrestler of the Week. Every week, points will be tabulated, and whoever has the most points at the end of the calendar year will be named Male and Female Wrestler of the Year. If you want to see what I use as criteria for Wrestler of the Week, be sure to check out my Week 1 episode. We are in a post-WWE SummerSlam environment, and we got turns, returns, title changes, title retentions, and some big time wrestling. So let's just get into it. First, the women and some honorable mentions. Liza Hall from DOA would win the 2024 Queen of Thorns tournament. Fallon Henley, JC Jane, and Jasmine Ninks would defeat Carmen Petrovic, Lola Vice, and Sol Ruka in a match that had no right to be as good as it was on NXT Great American Bash. Mizuki and Saki from Gedo would defeat Emi Sakura and Masahiro Tanahashi to win the Asia Dream Tag titles. Juliet and Saray from NXT and Marigold would defeat Kazuna Tanaka and Victoria Yuzuki. Thunder Rosa from AEW would defeat Taya Valkyria at AEW Collision. Maggie Lee from Uprising would defeat Megan Bayne to retain the Dreamwave Women's title. And finally, Masha Slamovic from TNA would defeat her tag partner Jody Threat at Bloodsport 9. And now the top 10 wrestlers of the week for the women. Kicking off the list this week for the women is Chris Statlander, who on Dynamite would defeat CMLL Women's Champ Willow Nightingale in a title eliminator match. And it looks like we will finally get the one-on-one confrontation between former besties and now bitter rivals for the CMLL title. And I am going to assume this match will happen at All In, as it is one of the better built feuds in AEW, as it has been going on for almost a year. Statlander is one of the most reliable hands in AEW, a great power hybrid grappler who I feel does not get the credit she deserves for being as smooth in the ring as she is, and I admire the change in her character ever since the heel turn and betrayal with Stokely Hathaway. Can Stat eventually wrest the title away from Willow? Time will tell, but until then, we have Chris Statlander, the number 1 contender for the CMLL Women's title, at number 10 this week for the women. The Queen of Spades, Shayna Baszler, had a very eventful week, and that has her landing at number 9 for the women. First, Sonya Deville, and Zoe Stark would defeat Katana Chance, Kaden Carter, and Lyra Valkyria in a 6-woman match on Raw to continue their dominance as a new trio. Then later in the week at Josh Barnett's Bloodsport 9, Baszler would defeat Miyu Yamashita in a really good match that shows when she is in shackles, Baszler can go with the best of them. It took a TKO to take Yamashita down, and Baszler is one of those performers on the WWE roster that can be plugged into any feud with any performer around the world and excel. The former dominant NXT Women's Champ has become one of the promotion's better hands, and I am hoping the faction with her, Sonya, and Zoe will achieve some dividends in gold because she has earned it. This week, the Queen of Spades, Shayna Baszler, lands on the list at number 9 for the women. Steph DeLander from TNA lands on the list this week at number 8, and she participated in a wild main event wedding on TNA Impact that had Santino Marella officiating, Rhino wearing his tie over his wrestling gear as the best man, and Zaya Brookside as the maid of honor. DeLander, complete in Bride of Frankenstein-inspired hair, and PCO yelling instead of saying vows and exchanging rings with a finger still on one. This brought out First Class to help celebrate, and we got the topper with Matt Cardona returning with a gift of a brick to the back of PCO's head. We can never get a straightforward wedding in wrestling. Cardona attempted to woo DeLander as he took issue with PCO being digital media champ, and we have the start of a big angle as Delander is aligned with Cardona in GCW, and I am sure this will come up. Delander has been one of the more entertaining acts in TNA, and I love her and PCO's relationship. But will Delander stay married, or will she eventually fall in Cardona's orbit and a heartbreaking betrayal is coming? Until we find out, we have the newly married Steph Delander, who lands on the list at number 8. We have a couple of women who competed in straight-up squash matches this week at number 7 to showcase wholly different sides. First, AEW Women's Champ Timeless Toni Storm would make short work of Rachel Chanel to express her anger and seriousness towards number 1 contender Mariah May before they meet at All In, while Camille with AEW TBS and New Japan Strong Women's Champ Mercedes Moné would make her AEW in-ring debut by obliterating Brittany Jade in seconds to show she isn't someone to fuck with. I mentioned this last week. It is good to see Toni Storm in serious mood as we build towards a match with Mariah May, while Camille is here to just kill bitches and to give Britt Baker, who is currently suspended, a mountain to climb as we move towards her match with Moné at All In for the TBS title. Where will things lead for both women? Can Storm overcome her challenge and get revenge? What will happen when Camille decides she wants to focus on her own singles career? We will see, but for now, we got the Brickhouse Camille and AEW Women's World Champ Timeless Toni Storm on the list at number 7. At number 6 this week for the women are the inaugural Marigold Twin Star Champs Mai Sakurai and Miri, who at Marigold Summer Gold Shine would defeat Miku Anu and Natsupoi to win the titles. This was a very good capper to a decent tournament with, I feel, the correct winners, as Murray has all the tools to be a major star, and Mai's evolution from her days in Stardom has been a joy to behold. These are a couple of truly strong wrestlers who can build a resume of great tag title matches with this Marigold roster, which has some of my favorite female wrestlers in the world plying their trade. What is next for Mai and Mirai? What kind of champs will they be? Time will tell, but no one will ever take away that they were the first tag champs in Marigold history. Congratulations to the inaugural Marigold Twin Star champs Mai Sakurai and Mirai, who land at number 6 this week for the women. We have the unholy union of Alba Fire and Ilsa Dawn, who on NXT Great American Bash would defeat Meta-4 to retain their titles in a match that I think surpassed all expectations, mainly because Lash Legend is getting better and better. While days later on SmackDown, the pair would retain their tag titles against Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, where Blair Davenport would interfere on their behalf, and obviously this feud is not over. I love me some Alba Fire and Ilsa Dawn. I believe they are a couple of the unsung heroes of the women's division, as they pretty much can work with anyone and make them look good. What's next for our current champs? I am sure a match with Bianca and Jade is certainly on the horizon in the very near future, but hopefully a good follow-up is all I ask. Until then, we have our WWE Women's Tag Champs, the Unholy Union of Alba Fire and Ilsa Dawn, who land on the list at number 5. At number 4, we have the Eradicator and everyone's mommy, Rhea Ripley, and she had a busy week, being all over Monday Night Raw with Judgment Day and Dominic Mysterio specifically, as she prepped for her match with WWE Women's World Champ Liv Morgan at SummerSlam. Later in the week, at that same event in the opening match, Rhea would finally get her hands on the person who took a piece of her career away, and the carnage did not disappoint. But it was that dastardly, dirty bastard Dom who gave the assist to Liv so she could retain her title and then share a kiss that I am sure rattled mommy to her core, and god damn, I am so ready for this feud to be turned up to 11 now that Rhea is fully established as a babyface. And if we thought we have caught a glimpse of Rhea's potential, now that she is able to fully embrace being a hero or anti-hero, we may be on the ground floor of one of the greatest female careers of all time. I am saying it. It probably isn't as bold of a thought as I think it is. But Mommy will be back. She will be on her own revenge tour, and I am here for all the brutality. She may have lost the match, but she has only become more popular for it, and that brings the Eradicator Rhea Ripley on the list this week for the women at number 4. The Prodigy NXT Women's Champ Roxanne Perez lands on the list at number 3 this week for retaining her title against a very game Wwe Aew from Chase U at NXT Great American Bash. Aew brought the fire as she always does, and it made for a high-impact, fast-paced match that saw Roxy almost fall victim to the heart of Chase U, but eventually Aew would fall victim to Pop Rocks to give Perez the victory. I have to give credit to Aew, who really brought the fire, and I think this match opened a lot of eyes to her main roster potential. But at the end of the day, this was all about Roxy and her continued dominance as she pushed back against all comers during her reign. Who is next? We know Roxy versus Stephanie Vacker and Julia is coming. But when? Until we get those answers and the next challenger, Roxanne Perez, the Prodigy, and reigning NXT Women's Champ comes in for the women at number 3. The 2024 WWE Women's Queen of the Ring can now add WWE Women's Champ to her growing resume, as Nia Jax would win the title at WWE SummerSlam, and that has her at number 2. Jax and Bayley would have a very good power match at the event, where Bayley did all she could to overcome Jax and her power, but it was a fake-out cash-in by Money in the Bank holder Tiffany Stratton that served as enough distraction for Jax to hit 2 massive annihilators on Bayley for the win and the title, and this is Jax's first title run in 6 years. It really doesn't feel that long, but here we are. As much as I enjoyed Bayley's run as WWE Women's Champ, I felt the time was right for a new champ, and we have a compelling story between Jax and Tiffany Stratton as we wait for the inevitable, where Stratton eventually turns on Jax to cash in for the title. But when will that be? Time will tell, but until then, we have a new WWE Women's Champ on SmackDown, and that is the unstoppable force that is Nia Jax, who lands in the runner-up spot for the women. And the female wrestler of the week for week 26 is the ever incomparable Queen of Oblivion, WWE Women's World Champ Liv Morgan, who at WWE SummerSlam would beat the Eradicator with a little help from Dominic Mysterio to retain the Women's World title. Morgan would first do everything she could to avoid Ripley, but when they locked up, Liv shows she's a cunning grappler, going after Ripley's previously injured shoulder, which Ripley, in an absolute boss move, would snap back into place by ramming into the announce desk. Eventually, it took the dastardly betrayal of Dominic Mysterio to cause Ripley the match and earn Morgan the retention of her title. The capper was the super hot kiss Liv and Dom shared post-match to solidify the relationship, and Liv Morgan has been it. For my money, if there is a wrestler who has taken advantage of her opportunities, it has been Morgan, who took her legit injury that lit a fire under her to start her revenge tour that became much more than a catchphrase, and now she is legitimately positioned as the top female in all of WWE at this time. But one thing is for certain, Mommy is not done with her or Dominic, and I am sure Liv and Dom will rue the day they really pissed Mommy off. until then, we have a WWE Women's World Champ who is sitting on top of the world and on top of Dom. Liv Morgan, our Week 26 Female Wrestler of the Week. And now to the men and some honorable mentions. The Rascals from NXT NA would defeat Kushida and Speedball Mountain on TNA Impact. Claudia Castagnoli would defeat Lee Moriarty and Tomohiro Ishii to become the #1 contender to the Continental title. Dustin Rhodes and the Von Erichs would defeat Iron Savages to retain the Ring of Honor 6-man tag titles. Daisy Kill and Talos would defeat the Southern Six to become new NWA tag champs. Homicide would defeat Meg Santana at Bloodsport 9. Darby Allin would defeat Hangman Adam Page in a great Dynamite main event. And finally, Tony D'Angelo from NXT would defeat Tavion Heights to retain his NXT Heritage Cup at NXT Great American Bash. And now the top 10 wrestlers of the week for the men. We kick off the list this week with the former WWE World Heavyweight Champ Damian Priest, who had one hell of a showing at WWE SummerSlam as he defended his title against Gunther in one of the best matches of the evening. Priest threw everything at Gunther and matched him chop for chop, even drawing first blood and giving us a visual that made Priest look like a legit badass. If he could chop Gunther so hard that it made the ring general bleed, that's final boss energy right there. Priest hit a fantastic South of Heaven on Gunther and looked to have the match won until Finn Balor betrayed his JD stablemate, putting Gunther's foot on the ropes. When Priest saw the betrayal on the Tron, he snapped, lunging at Balor and opening him up for a second sleeper attempt that handed Gunther the title. I am going to say it, this match made Damian Priest and also showcased that he was a great champ, and this run for me showed he can carry the brand if he is called to do so. He was compelling, his matches were always good to great, and the chemistry he has with Judgment Day is palpable, and now that he is out, we have a hot new angle of revenge. Priest will have his eyes set on Balor, who will be the one to carry out Judgment. We will see, but for his amazing performance in Loss at SummerSlam, former World Heavyweight Champ Damian Priest lands on the list at number 10. We have a tie at number 9 for a pair of talents who have made names for themselves outside conventional names in the pro wrestling landscape. Joe Hendry from TNA had an eventful week this week at NXT Great American Bash. Hendry performed a rock concert that I think The Rock would have been very proud of, as he sang about Booker T being a major fan, how everything is just generally better with him around, and Gallus's bad facial hair, which brought out the faction who beat Hendry down, obviously setting up a match for this week's NXT. Later in the week on TNA Impact, Cardona would interrupt the wedding between PCO and Steph DeLander, offering the gift of a brick to knock the group out and declaring that the TNA Digital Media title belongs to him. Hendry is Hendry, one of the fastest and biggest rising stars in all of wrestling, while Cardona continues to make his impact wherever he goes, and it will be interesting to see how things progress between Cardona, PCO, and DeLander, especially since DeLander is aligned with Cardona and GCW. How will things play out? We will see. This week, we have Joe Hendry and Matt Cardona coming in for the men at number 9. We have new WWE Tag Champs, that is the Bloodline, Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga, who on SmackDown before SummerSlam would defeat DIY to become the new champs, and that has them at number 8 this week. Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano would put up their best effort, but it was not enough to overcome Tonga and the Samoan Werewolf, who continues to show he is arguably the MVP of the Bloodline 2.0 faction. Also, I have to give a shout out to Jacob Fatu, who went ham at SummerSlam in the Bloodline Rules match between Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa, and it looks like he may have injured himself, but somehow still finished his role in the match before Roman Reigns made his appearance. From all accounts, Fatu's foot is in a boot, and I hope whatever injury he has sustained is minimal and he is able to make a quick and speedy recovery, because if there is anyone who can be legit made from the Bloodline Civil War, it is Fatu, who has impressed in every outing since debuting on the main roster. I am going to assume that Tonga Loa may end up as the de facto tag champ with his brother while Fatu is out. Despite the unfortunate, I still have to congratulate the brand new WWE Tag Champs, the Bloodline, and they land at number 8 this week. We have a tie for a pair of champs who retained their title at CMLL Super Viernes, and that has them at number 7 this week. First, Esfinge would successfully defend his Mexican National Light Heavyweight title in a good match against Valiente, while the Devil himself, MJF, would defend his newly christened AEW American title against Templariero to retain. Esfinge has been enjoying a very good run as champ in CMLL, defending his title against all comers, while MJF, well, he's MJF, who continues to prove he is one of the premier grapplers in the ring, able to adapt to any style, even lucha, when calls for it. Obviously, MJF is gearing up for his title match against Will Ospreay in All In, and we all expect the rematch to be a banger if their hour-long classic is any indication. This week, congrats to Esfinge and MJF, who both successfully defended their titles this week. WWE SummerSlam 2024 will be known as the night the Judgment Day as we knew it ended, and that is because of the actions of two of the faction's members, Dominic Mysterio and Finn Balor, who both made a major impact at the show. First, in the opening match of the evening, Dominic Mysterio would show his true colors, betraying Rhea Ripley and giving WWE Women's World Champ Liv Morgan a major assist as she retained her title and capping the win off with some major lip locking. Later on in the evening, Finn Balor would arrive to betray former World Heavyweight Champ Damian Priest in his loss to Gunther. Balor immediately became one of the most hated people in WWE, and it amazes me that WWE was somehow able to pull off the very rare heel-heel double turn, where a heel turns even more heelish with their actions, and the fact they pulled it off with Judgment Day is a great testament to the level of storytelling WWE is cracking out now. But what is next for the new Judgment Day? Has Liv officially joined the faction and Priest and Rhea are out? What plans do Priest and Rhea have for revenge? So much intrigue, and I am sure we are going to get some answers in the coming weeks. For now, we have Judgment Day members and certified bastards, Dominic Mysterio and Finn Balor, who land on the list at number 6. We have a tie at number 5 for a pair of brand new secondary champs in WWE who were crowned at SummerSlam. First, Braun Breaker pretty much decimated Sami Zayn to win the WWE Intercontinental title, while LA Knight would best Logan Paul in a hell of a match to win the WWE United States title. This is both men's first major title runs on the main roster, and these wins felt like the signaling of a paradigm shift in the company, as both Braun and Knight in their own ways are being fit in for the future of the company. Braun has the Steiner pedigree and is viewed as one of the most can't-miss prospects WWE has had in a long while, as Knight has earned his spot through hard work and doing everything in his power to become and sustain being one of WWE's hottest and most over acts. Big things have been on the horizon for Braun and Knight for some time, and now they have been given the ball. Let's see how far they run with it. This week, congrats to the new WWE Intercontinental Champ, the indestructible Braun Breaker, and the new WWE United States Champ, the megastar LA Knight, for landing this week, as the number 5 male wrestlers of the week. Drew McIntyre pops in this week for the men at number 4, and he won the highest profile non-title match of the week as he defeated CM Punk in a war at SummerSlam, where special guest ref Seth Rollins had to count the 3. Drew and Punk held nothing back in their match as Rollins allowed the two to truly tear into each other. Seth would prevent McIntyre from using a chair, but the real story was CM Punk not being able to control his own temperament in the ring, relenting on the Anaconda Vice on McIntyre when he noticed the family bracelet on Drew's wrist. Punk would once again be his own worst enemy as he would berate Seth Rollins for wearing said bracelet when Rollins simply picked it up innocently, and CM Punk would give him a GTS for his trouble. The distraction was enough for Drew to hit a low blow and a claymore that had some stank on it for the victory. This was a great match. That was a nice homage to the Bret Hart Undertaker 1997 SummerSlam match with Shawn Michaels as the special guest referee, and the match really sold the hatred between Drew and Punk and Seth. And even though Drew has said he is moving on, as long as he dangles that bracelet, Punk will never let him go. If there ever was a feud that needed to conclude inside Hell in a Cell, this is it, and I hope this is the direction we go. Until then, congrats to Drew McIntyre for his major victory at SummerSlam, and that lands him as the number 4 male wrestler of the week. We have a tie at number 3 for a pair of world champs who retained the world titles this week. First off, Nick Nemeth would push back against a very capable Mustafa Ali at TNA Impact to successfully defend his title. Later in the week at SummerSlam, WWE Champs Cody Rhodes, with some help from one tribal chief, would defeat Solo Sikoa in the main event in a very chaotic Bloodline rules match. Also, can I say how fucking amazing it is to have Double A Arn Anderson back? Nemeth now has his first title defense under his belt as we gear up for Bound for Glory. Will Nemeth be champ by then, and if so, who will he be defending against? Will this be Joe Hendry's moment to shine? On the WWE side, things are a lot more murky. Who will challenge Cody next? Where does Roman Reigns factor in all of this? We have a lot of questions for both of our world champs, but for now, let's celebrate them both retaining their titles. This week, TNA World Heavyweight Champ Nick Nemeth and WWE Undisputed Champ Cody Rhodes both land on the list at number 3 for the men. We have a new WWE World Heavyweight Champion, and that was crowned at SummerSlam, and that is the ring general Gunther, who at the event defeated former champ Damian Priest with a little help from Finn Balor. Gunther and Priest had a great match, as Priest did everything in his power to literally match Gunther chop for chop, actually drawing blood from him, which provided for an amazing visual. But after Balor's interference, Gunther caught Priest in a sleeper and took him down, and we have entered the age of the ring general, and man, I see Gunther holding the world title for a while, as WWE building up contenders for the new champ. Whoever is first up is going to be an unlucky soul who will be facing Gunther at Bash at Berlin, where Gunther is most certainly going to receive a hero's welcome. Actually, I feel bad for whoever will be stacked up against Gunther for the next year, as I imagine Gunther will just chop, powerbomb, and put to sleep his way into a truly historic title run. Time will tell, but for now, congratulations to the ring general and the new WWE World Heavyweight Champ Gunther, the runner-up for Male Wrestler of the Week. And the Week 26 Male Wrestler of the Week is none other than your Tribal Chief, the OTC, the original Tribal Chief, the returning Roman Reigns, who made the biggest impact at WWE SummerSlam as he interfered on behalf of Cody Rhodes in the WWE title Bloodline Rules match between Rhodes and Solo Sikoa. Reigns made his presence felt immediately with a Superman punch and a spear to his former hired muscle, opening the door for Cody to hit Crossroads on Solo for the win. The return was a shocker with Roman helping Cody, but what does that mean? Is Roman automatically a babyface? There is no way he returns and does not get plugged into the WWE title picture as soon as the time is right. For now, we have to be marching towards the Bloodline Civil War. There is lots of time left for this angle to build, as I wouldn't be surprised to see that big time match main event Survivor Series in a War Games match. But for now, put up your ones and acknowledge him. Welcome back to the original Tribal Chief, Roman Reigns, the Male Wrestler of the Week for Week 26. And here are the weekly standings for the men and the women. This week was hectic, but the next week with the WWE SummerSlam Fallout, along with us marching towards AEW All In and TNA Bound for Glory, is going to be insane. And we also have the New Japan G1 Climax Finals coming up shortly. Things are again going to get crazy. Did you agree with my picks for Wrestler of the Week? Share your thoughts, leave your comments, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell icon so you can get notifications as well. Thanks a lot, everyone. Take care.